come here. Thinking of moving to Oklahoma City, but you don't just want to hear about rainbows and unicorns? Let's talk about it. Thank you so much for joining us here today. If you've spent any amount of time on this channel, you'll know that I love Oklahoma City and all that it has to offer. But in this video today, I wanted to give you a peek behind the curtain at some of the, well, not so great things about living in the city, or just some of the real talk about the city. Now, this isn't intended to scare you away, but I do think it's important and only fair that when considering relocating to a city, that you weigh the good and the bad. And some of these things may not be good or bad. They may just be different from wherever it is you're moving from. And on that note, if you're thinking about moving to Oklahoma City, whether in the next few weeks or even few months from now, I would absolutely love the opportunity to help you make a smooth move here to Oklahoma City. You'll find all my contact information in the description below, so feel free to shoot me a call, a text, or an email, and I'll always get right back to you, and hopefully we can help you buy that perfect home here in the Oklahoma City area. All right, with that out of the way, let's dive in. Now, one of the first things to consider when moving to Oklahoma City is that you are going to be in a very politically conservative state. Oklahoma is, of course, located right in the heart of the Bible Belt and is among some of the most conservative states in the U.S. To illustrate just how conservative, Oklahoma has voted Republican in every presidential election since 1968. By healthy margins. Now, whether or not that's a good or a bad thing, of course, is going to depend on your political beliefs. It's also important to be aware that this is largely influenced by many of the rural counties around Oklahoma that make up about 2/3 of the state's population, which also means that it's important to point out that here in Oklahoma City, it's actually split more down the middle than you might think, considering we are in such a conservative state. And so as an example, here in Oklahoma City, the last presidential election came down to only a difference of about 1% between the two candidates. So suffice it to say that you can certainly find like-minded people here in Oklahoma City, regardless of your political affiliation. But since politics plays such an important role in everyday life, political landscape is something you definitely want to take into consideration before making any big moves. Now, the next thing you need to know about Oklahoma City is going to be the extreme weather conditions. Tornadoes, as I'm sure you're aware, are a thing here and certainly something we have to remain aware of. Now, as I've mentioned before on this channel, I have lived here in Oklahoma City the majority of my life and I've never actually once been in a tornado, so take that for what it's worth. But they do occasionally occur, so that is going to be a point of concern for some people when living here. Now, the good thing is when it comes to tornadoes, we have some of the highest level of weather technology available in the entire world. So generally speaking, we have several days worth of advance notice when there are potentially conditions that may lead to that sort of activity. And after living here for any amount of time, you certainly become aware of the difference between a tornado watch and a tornado warning. Essentially, it's the difference between keep an eye on the weather and grab your family and take shelter.
Hide your kids, hide your wife.
Now, additionally, summers can be brutally hot for a couple of weeks, and winters can get bitterly cold, even sometimes producing ice storms. So, if you're somebody who doesn't handle extreme weather conditions very well, Oklahoma City may not be the best spot for you. But if you can endure some of those extreme weather conditions, Oklahoma City has some beautiful falls and really mild temperatures throughout the rest of the year. So, for me, I think it's totally worth it, but ultimately, that'll be up to you. Alright, something else I'd like to be very candid about is that Oklahoma City has a very flat landscape. In addition to that, we are also landlocked. So if you're used to living somewhere with mountains or hills, and certainly if you're used to having beaches around you, you might find Oklahoma City's flat landscape a little bit boring. Additionally, that lack of elevation can lead to some pretty intense wind gusts, which to be honest, it's always just kind of, well, windy.
Ooh, that's bad.
Now, I will say as someone who very much enjoys outdoor activities, right here in the city, we do have some beautiful places to enjoy despite the flat landscape, including several parks. Lake Hefner and Martin Park Nature Center are two of my favorites. And as a bonus, we're actually only about an hour-and-a-half drive away from a very beautiful place called the Wichita Mountains. Now, the Wichita Mountain Wildlife Refuge is something that I feel like even a lot of people here in the city don't even really know about, and it has some absolutely amazing hiking trails and nature that will make you forget that you're even in Oklahoma. So overall, I don't think the landscape is that bad here. Just don't show up and say Jonathan didn't warn you about the flat landscape. Alright, now the next thing you're going to need to know about living in Oklahoma City is the high level of allergens. If you're somebody who suffers from allergies, moving to Oklahoma City can be a little bit challenging, especially at first. According to Integris Health, Oklahoma City is the 18th most challenging city to live in for seasonal allergies. In addition to high levels of known allergens like grass and ragweed, Oklahoma City actually has a longer than average pollen season. Now this is due to Oklahoma having largely shorter and relatively mild winters. So this essentially means that trees begin to pollinate as early as February. So while it's nothing that a stockpile of Claritin or Zyrtec can't help manage, OKC's allergies are nothing to sneeze at.
Boo!
Or something you do sneeze at? Okay, it's something you need to consider when moving here. And yet another thing you're gonna need to know about living here in Oklahoma City is that you're likely gonna need a car to live here comfortably. For one, public transportation is always improving here, but it's not as great as other major cities. And secondly, Oklahoma City is very large by area, ranking number 8 in the US. So with both of those things combined, WalkScore.com gives OKC a walk score of 34. So when compared to the top US cities by walk score, which I'll throw on the screen right here, OKC has a ways to go with walkability. So if you're making the move here to Oklahoma City, just know you're gonna need a car. I'm sorry. Now, I want to be fair, as Oklahoma City continues to develop, they are very much starting to center some neighborhoods around walkability. And in those neighborhoods, you can largely find what you're going to need within a couple blocks from your home. A great example of this is one of my favorite neighborhoods called the Plaza District. So why don't you go ahead and click right here to come with me to explore all the Plaza has to offer. And guys, until next time, I certainly hope to see you soon. See ya.